want to see some hands raised and see some people asking questions to get more specific about where they're stuck with writing the content. Like I said before, I can tell you till the cows come home, but you guys need to give me some feedback. How is it that, where is it that you're having that problem? Barbara, go ahead. I don't even have, I didn't mute everybody today.
So I know you and I have had some discussions about content writing.
Yep.
And so this is like, see if you can decipher the exact question that I'm asking,
Okay.
because I don't consider myself as a terrifically great writer. And I have enlisted my daughter, who is an amazing writer,
Okay.
to write. She started out writing just some content for individual listings on my site, individual items of clothing. What I noticed is that her language is much more contemporary than mine is, and seems to be getting a lot more traction when it's posted on Instagram or posted other places. I'm kind of an old person. You know what I mean? And so
say the same thing. If I posted something on Instagram, I'd probably not get anybody, because I'm not 18 to 20 to 30 years old, so I'm not using their same lingo.
Right. And she's 32, so she's not a real young one, but she's definitely a different demographic and has, you know, business expertise. I mean, she had a restaurant, and so she's done all this. She understands it. And I've just noticed that her content seems to be more like people seem to pick it up better and
more engaging.
And I'm not that way. So I mean, I guess that goes to having someone write your content and be
needs graphics. This is Wendy.
Very targeted. You know, does it have the content writing? Is there some thought behind what your targeted audience is as well?
Well, the main thought that I want everybody to see, to hear, is you said that your daughter can write better. Okay, let's take how to write off the table. What I want everybody to understand is, can you describe what's on any given page? Forget about how. I don't want to hear, maybe it's this person, that. I just want to say, can you pick a page and tell me all about that page?
Well, I can, but it's not very pretty, and I wouldn't write it that way.
It doesn't have to be. That's what I'm trying to get across. It's not a matter of how pretty is my content that I've written. It's, I'm just talking to that person. Does that make more sense or no?
Well, yes, but I wouldn't write it the same way that I talk to a person.
That's my point. I want you to write it exactly like you would tell it to somebody. If you saw the stuff that I write in any of my articles, you'd go, he sounds like he's just talking to me. That's what you want. Don't get into, I need to make sure that I hit this point. I need to make sure to hit that point. No, just talk to somebody about the subject on that one page.
Well, I think in a way that's what I am talking about, but I think there's nuances in, like, if I were to talk about a page on my site and my daughter were to talk about a page on the site, we would talk about it differently.
Record that and then listen to it later and look at the page about which you were talking and see how well that it points to that page, and it really brings out everything that you wanted to say about that page. And as you're listening to it and looking at that page, listening to the conversation you had with your daughter, you'd then, I think, you'd stop dead in your tracks and go, huh, I wouldn't have written it that way, but that really does describe this page.
I mean, I think sometimes because I'm so attached to it from,
Yes.
yeah, you know, I think I get in the weeds a little bit where she looks at it and,
Yep.
and writes about things. And I feel like she would talk about it the same way as someone who's viewing
Yep.
the site.
And I'm going to say something here. In fact, I'm going to try to show you if I can find this page again. And I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, Barbara, tell me about this page. Tell me about what's on this page. It's not your site. You're not invested. So just talk about it.
Well, I think it's about groups of people getting together to discuss various business challenges and what their small business is about and hive mind solving problems.
Sounds good to me. I've read this page before, and I think it's better than the content they've got on the page. Do you see how that happened? You're not invested in it. You're just seeing what's there and describing it, and you're describing it to me. Now, if you wrote down by yourself what you think this page is about, it might be a lot more, prickly or stale, but you're just talking to me about it. That's what I want everybody else to understand. If you have to get, and smart alecky Lisa was saying, what about your avatar? Do you have an avatar? Talk to your avatar. I saw that in the chat that she put that, and I went, okay, that's not a bad idea, but whatever it takes for you to get out of your head and just talk to somebody. In fact, for you specifically, if you're going to, you've got a new page and you're saying, okay, I want to go talk to my daughter about this page that I'm going to write some new content for. Perfect. That conversation that you have with her, record it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have her, without saying anything, I'd have her do exactly what you just had me do.
There you go.
And say, tell me about this page.
Right.
Which is what I had her doing with individual items. I just had her writing the content, and I just sent her pictures and said, write the content, write what you see.
And with yours, you're on a specific subject, so it just kind of changes the particular dress or whatever brand. But in a lot of people's site, the pages differ. Even though the whole site is about a broad subject, each page is about one part of that subject. The problem with most of us is that we think about it too much. We think, well, I need to tell them about blah, blah. No, stop it. Just tell them about what's on the page. You don't have to go into detail about everything. Give them a broad synopsis of the page and try to include in that synopsis what problems people have that this page, this particular subject is solving. In yours, it would be, okay, I've got this brand and I've got these dresses in this brand. Why would people want to buy that? If you're looking for something that really makes you look like you're going out on the town, this is the brand that you want.
Right.
I mean, that's just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of silly. That's how you want to think about it. Don't get caught up in, well, I got to make sure that the verbiage is just like this and this. And that's what throws other people off. They come to the page and they go, oh man, that's some stale information. And they go to a website that is just talking to them and they stay on that one. repurposing content. But this is Lisa again, is that right? Yep. Talk to your daughter, and you need to speak to the same person. Is your daughter speaking to a younger person? What that's true too. Who buys your product? But at the same time, if you're an Instagram, they are probably looking for your product. And some of them may be saying, if I can get mom to pay for it or dad to pay for it, but you're still going to talk to them a little bit differently than you would somebody who is the primary payee, if you will. So if mom or dad was looking at it, they want to see something different, but you can still appease everybody by still having it conversational text.
Right. I actually think my daughter appeals to my demographic, which is she's at the bottom end of my demographic.
Okay.
At 31 and probably early 30s to 60, so a smattering up at the top.
Okay.
Or, further up over 60.
So in the various platforms, in social media platforms, she'd be perfect. In the website itself, your conversation with her is going to be better because it's more of you, not necessarily being the owner of the site, but an older person than the 30s. You're 35, right? So
right, 37. But
took
thank you.
A minute. Wait, what did he just say?
Yeah.
The idea is that just like I just did with you, I see some people laughing at that. Write your content that way. Don't get stuck in this, well, I've got to be so professional. That's the kind of terms and the content that people run from. They don't
see, and I think
to...
she is, even though she is a professional, I think she writes less professionally because of the business that she's been in already and her age.
And okay,
and it seems a little more dynamic and interesting to me.
And for you, professional might be the word that you need to hone in on. It's a keyword that apparently sticks in your mind. Well, I need to speak more professionally. So if anybody else in the group says, yeah, that professionalism, forget about the professionalism. Throw that out the window, because that's what's stopping you from writing content that people go, this is really like somebody is talking to me. Like they know that I'm looking for this stuff, whatever this stuff is on your page, and they're writing to me. It's that for you, the word professional is what's getting in your way. Don't think that if it's written like a 30-year-old, people are going to not look at your stuff. They will find it more inviting. Or a 20-year-old for that matter. And like Maury says, write from the heart and feeling, not the head and logic. And it's not it. The reason it's so difficult for everybody is because you built your website. And you've been to all these websites that have done this quote unquote professional writing. And how many times have you actually gone to a website where you're going, wow, whatever that stuff is that they have, I'm kind of interested because of the way that they wrote this. So remember those websites that you've been to that have that kind of content. They're very few. And I'll tell you, this is not anything that's just this group. This is internet wide. Pick a site and go to it. The one I just had up before, that was pretty professional writing, and it still wasn't telling anybody what they do. That was the part that I had a problem with. It doesn't, does anybody see this page as talking to you? Or is it stale? Like, I still have no real good idea of what they're trying to get me to do. Or what is it solving? Wouldn't you like to have a sounding board for solving challenges that I would like you to tell me about what the challenges are and how you're going to resolve them. That's what the content should say. And that's where everybody's having their issue. Does anybody want me to look at one of their sites to do the same thing? Maury.
Yeah, overall, this is really not a good design.
No. And guess what? This
It
is a WordPress site and he's all proud of it. And you'd be surprised. You want to see the numbers that I got off of this? I was amazed.
But there's nothing on it, that's why.
And yeah, but it's like the performance alone, it's hosted on GoDaddy and it's a WordPress site.
Probably managed WordPress, or it could be a VPN.
I was trying to
Yes.
look for anything that I could find in the page source, and I didn't really find anything that helped try to determine, boy, this seems like it's just blazing. But I'd have to go through more of the code. I went through it earlier without Zoom and it was easier to read the stuff. My point is, yeah, it's a pretty ho-hum site. It looks like something really old. The overall theme looks like something of the early aughts. And
It is.
and it probably is. I think I saw that it's default theme. You probably know better than I do how old that particular theme is.
Yeah, it's just a generic
Yeah.
layout, and it probably works for them. You know, I mean, every site's different. I mean, you know, some businesses need to have the animation and the graphics and things like that. Others don't. You know, I mean, this is actually a forum, it looks like.
And I have viewed a few sites just this week for marketing people and website developers, website designers, and I was going, but none of them think anything about the performance of the pages. So they're terrible. But I think that they just don't see that. Somehow, this person has somebody working for them that they understand performance, they understand the need to have to make sure that the site loads fast, but they failed on the content. Then there's very little content on there. So that's the one place that I can see they need to work.
Yeah, looks like to me, it's a corporate, kind of a corporate meeting room is what it looks like to me. Well, I'm sure they're not worried about placing high in the search engines.
Solution forum groups have been proven, so they're solution forum groups, and just like Barbara was saying, looks like a forum for companies, and it is, but that doesn't mean it has to be boring. I mean, if I was a corporate, it doesn't make any difference who comes to the page and at what level in your mind that you feel these people are. Corporate, oh, they got to see something different. Why? Why can't you just talk to them? You have another question, Barbara, or is that your hand still up from before?
Sorry,
Oh,
hand's still up.
The point is talking to people. And what do you mean their numbers are going to be skewed, Lisa? Oh, because there's so many people checking out the site to see if it's any good? No, okay. Everybody's got their things in their own website, but this one was just, it's nobody in this group as far as I know. It's somebody who joined our group recently, but I guess they didn't show up today. The point is just finding something that you're saying, let's take a look at this. How would you describe? And let's go from there. Back to my question that I had a while ago, does somebody else have a website that they would like to discuss a particular page so that they can get a better handle? Or even just somebody that's either, whether it's your own website or a different website that you would like to try to describe so you can understand how to talk about your own page and each of the pages in your own website. I'm trying to say this in as many different ways as possible to see if I can get the wheels turning. Are they turning? No?
You may use mine if you would like.
Okay. And then you're going to try to
And-
describe what's on the page.
Pardon?
You're going to try to describe the page then?
Well, as much as I can.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll start.
So first of all, I'm confused about the number of words. And my web person has been working on this a lot, but she still doesn't have finished. We've been doing ads. She's been sending out ads. But I'm still confused about the number of words.
I wouldn't worry about how many words that you have until you've gotten to a point where you're writing the content as conversational. Does that make sense, Blair?
Yes.
So have a conversation with us about just this page. What's this page about? Donkeys? Kids at
Well,
school?
it's about photographs of Pennsylvania. And it's about a website that has a lot, like 5,000 photographs of these things: fine art photography of Pennsylvania, photos of Amish, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, nature, state parks, landscapes, and historic sites. Now, we use those words because those words are the words that came up in Google search. Most words used for Google searches.
What I would highly recommend is that everybody put keywords aside when you're writing your content, because I know you're all having the problems writing the content. Forget what Google wants, forget keywords, forget it until you have written the content. You can always go back and edit the content and drop in those keywords where they are appropriate. So the first thing that you want to do is just tell me about the page. Now, I noticed that you started to get into, as Barbara said, that professional thing. Get out of that. If you were talking to, let's say that you went over to a friend's house and there were several people there, and somebody said, "What do you do?" What would you tell them?
Well, the main thing I want to get across is that I have photographs on that are available, which the big sites aren't likely to have, even though they say they have 1 million pictures. When it comes down to specific pictures of a specific historic site or something else quite particular about Pennsylvania, they probably don't have it, but I have it. And
Okay,
that's the message I want to get across.
Let me interrupt for a second, because that
Sure.
part that you just stated, I would put that down below what I would like to hear. What's the site all about? Does that make sense? Because I agree with you, that's something that you need in there. But how are you going to get my interest as soon as I land on the page? You're at that party with several people and somebody's asking you what you do. And you started in with, well, I've got pictures that are more, wait, what do you do? Get them, start the ball rolling. Well, I've been taking pictures since Rover was a pup. If you use that line, that would certainly get a chuckle out of a lot of people that come to it.
Yeah, I photographed other countries for 10 years, but I've made Pennsylvania my country since I've returned from abroad. So Pennsylvania up and down for 20 years as though it's my country.
Okay. So you've got a place in your heart for Pennsylvania. What do you do?
what do I do?
Don't assume.
Well, every chance I get, I head out to places on the Pennsylvania map that are mostly those places that are in the green.
And do what?
And I make pictures.
Now you're getting
see.
close to the content you need on the first part of your page. You started to tug on my heart when you were going, I go out and how often, and I pick out the map and this is what I do. Great. Now you're telling me about you and what's on this page at the same time. Now I'm interested. So tell me more.
Well, every time I didn't have a corporate assignment on a particular day, I'd grab the map and head out to the green parts of the map, which are state parks and state forests and other interesting places, or I would head out to a city.
And just look at it or
and find great pictures.
find spots.
I would find and photograph great scenes, great pictures from those areas.
This meeting is being recorded, and you would be best to make sure to get a copy of this, because what you just said is perfect. That's a great place to start. Build on that.
Okay.
Now, that's my opinion. What about the opinion about everybody else? What did you think of his final way to describe this page? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Anybody want to make a comment about it? Did it turn any light bulbs on for others? Yes, no? You're all thinking.
I'd say it was more of, it sounded like he was more of having a conversation with somebody rather than trying to explain
Thank you.
what he does to no one that's there.
Thank you.
If that makes sense.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's the point that I keep trying to get. Just talk to somebody about what you do. Don't get into all the other stuff that's involved with SEO and your website and everything. Just talk to somebody about what you do. That's your starting point. Once you do that, you'll hear and record that so you hear yourself. Once you do that, now you go, okay, now I'm in that train of thought. I have got away from, as Barbara said, that professionalism, and now I'm just talking to somebody. Perfect. Now roll with that. Just keep talking and record that. You'll have a ton of content. You can even pepper that in other pages. You don't have to have it all on one page or your homepage or anything else.
So we're going to bring up, as you suggested, 12 small pictures, which will go to different parts of my website. Now, underneath each of those pictures, we could have a short statement that's also conversational, like what I found there, or hey, this is some great stuff you should see, or that kind of thing, rather than what we have.
Maybe even something more along the lines of, I found this spot on the map on this particular day a few years ago, or whenever that was, could have been yesterday. And so I decided to go there. Here's what I found. And so then people will start looking at those pictures going, wow, that's a great spot. Where was that? And you've already told them. You're just having a conversation, what you did, where you did it, and when. Now raise a hand.
Okay, so.
Okay, one quick question, but don't lose that thought. Is
Sure.
this starting to make more sense to everybody? Good, I'm getting some heads shaking. Wait, I'll put my hand down now. It went up my screen and Nadine says yes. So everybody's going, okay, this makes more sense. So go ahead, Blair.
Well, maybe this is asking this too soon, but then how do I bring in these Google words on the back end?
Don't get caught up in that, because what you're trying to do is get the content written first, just like we've talked about, just like you were saying.
Mhm.
When you've got it down, when you have said, okay, that looks pretty good on this page. All right, now I need to add the keywords. First, what keywords do you need on that particular page? Not all the pages, just the one page where you're putting this content.
Mm.
Then you do the research on what keywords for this subject. It could be, and I don't know about Pennsylvania. Tell me an area. Where's this picture taken?
In Endless Mountains in the north east, close to yeah, State Park.
Okay. So
Yeah, it's a place where you can go and you can just, I mean, it's endless. The mountain ridges that you see there are endless.
add that to the rest of your content that you're writing for that page, because that's still talking more about what it is, and you're getting excited about that spot. Exactly what you want to do. Now,
Okay.
because you said it's endless mountain, I think is what the word was.
Yes.
Okay, so then you go and look up how many people are researching endless mountain. You can even do the search in images to see how many people have added those images. When you're doing a keyword lookup, maybe you won't get millions of people, but if you get a considerable number, okay, the pictures about Endless Mountain, the content's about Endless Mountain, you've got the keywords in there. What else do you need?
Hmm.
Does that make sense, Blair?
Okay.
You
Well, yeah.
write your
Yes.
content first, write it very conversationally, just like you were doing. You're doing perfect. Then go
Mhm.
back and add your keywords where they are appropriate. Making sure that at least somebody is searching those keywords.
Okay. Now, as you scroll down on a page, this is all one page. Is that correct?
Well, in this particular case, because it's the home page, there's a bunch of stuff going on. So it's difficult to write on many websites. It's difficult to write the perfect content for your home page because it has so much going on. In your situation, that's probably where I'd put most of that content, because as soon as they click on somebody, they're going into a billion photographs, right?
Right.
This Canon.
Yes.
So there we go. There's a whole bunch of them.
These are all different collections.
And as
So in any given one, there are a bunch of photographs.
and as I remember, you were saying it's very difficult to try to put any content as a title where the Amish general is, right? You could do a title.
Well, if you click on that, I think Charmaine has written a short sentence there. Well, I don't see it. Most of them, she has written a short sentence about
it's a description for the image, and that's fine if it's possible. And you were saying that you were having trouble before. I wouldn't worry so much about these individual pages because there are a lot of images there, and people won't necessarily need to have a lot of content because they'll have been interested from what you told me in a conversational text. They'll be interested in the images and go, oh, well, so let me take a look at some of these things, and they'll start clicking on some. That's all you wanted them to do. And they'll see all these different images and go, wow, this guy does have a lot of pictures. So you probably, with what you said, you'll probably have people sitting in here looking at all these images for hours.
I hope.
If I had nothing else to do,
the average is 3 minutes, some seconds.
And if I were somebody looking at pictures, and that's what I wanted to do, was look at the images that you've got. Yeah, you'd hold them for quite a while.
Oh yes,
just
they could spend half a
tug at that heart.
half a day.
Tug at that heart before they click on anything, tug at that heart with your content, because you started doing that with me. I felt it coming out in how you were telling me this area. I mean, these mountains go forever. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, great. That's the kind of energy that you want in your content.
got it. Got it.
Okay, there's a bunch.
Now, we discussed before about WordPress, and then my images are on a different site. They're on Photo Shelter.
Yeah.
But we talked about putting small images together with these, or take these out and put small images, no, probably together with these, and they would just be on WordPress, so people could click on those and they would take them to Photo Shelter, but the images themselves and their descriptions would be on WordPress.
Yep.
Is that what you told me? Is that what we're?
Yes. Yes.
Charmaine's been working on other things, but her intent is to do that.
Basically what you have, but you could even make them a bit smaller and put some content under each one.
Mhm.
Put content right below your main picture. You could put a little bit more than just saying Fine Art Gallery, Pennsylvania, because that's putting me off. I want,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said what you told me a while ago. That's what I want to see right up here in the top.
Okay, gotcha.
Even if it doesn't have the H1 tag around it, you got my attention by being so emphatic about these mountains. And that you could even say, this is I forget the name of the mountains. This is the so-and-so mountains, endless mountains.
And
And
that's
they are endless. They go forever. What's wrong with that being up here under Pennsylvania photographs?
Mhm.
And you can keep the buy photos there. They may not buy them right away, but at least they will be in the site. They'll be interested in looking at more photos because you tugged on their heart and you've got them. And they, just like Lisa was saying in the chat, they're beautiful pictures, beautiful photographs. People want to hear you describing it. They want to see your enthusiasm in the words that are on the page. Otherwise, to them, it's like, okay, some guy's got all these pictures, but I'm not going to pay some company. It's just you.
Yeah,
Let them know it's just you. I've been doing this for 500 years. How long
okay.
have you been doing it?
Well, I could say, hey, I've been to Washington State, and Pennsylvania's got a lot more to offer.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm kind of partial, but
Yeah, I'm just joking.
even these, the decor prints.
Yeah, it's
They'll figure out who it was. They'll see your name. They see it in other
Yeah.
places, so you don't
so
necessarily.
in those places I could write conversationally also.
Yep. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be long,
Okay.
but just conversational. Just tug at their heart again.
Okay.
The number of times you tug at somebody's, they're gonna stay.
Mhm.
And you'll see it as you read all the different texts. So I don't have to point out all of them. And they see your happy mug down there, so they're going, huh, yeah, he has been around for a while. And that's fine. But when they see the images, they go, holy crap, these are some nice pictures. But like I say, if it's stale text, they go, yeah, they were some nice pictures. It's from some company, and they leave.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Another hands raised or thumbs or anything. Do you all agree or disagree, or do you have some comments about what I've described on this page and what Blair said? Good, bad, or indifferent? Bad, who cares? Anybody? No thoughts? Bonnie, go ahead. Hello, Bonnie. Hello, Bonnie.
Okay.
Oh, there you
I
go.
was going to talk about another site,
That's
but
fine. That's fine.
but, I think his photographs are beautiful, but it's I find it hard to start writing about your true feelings.
At least you're honest, because a lot of people are that way. I don't like to share my feelings. Is that kind of where you're coming from?
Mhm. Yeah.
Some people just, it's not easy for them to try to share their feelings. Trust me on this, folks. You're writing on your website. Whoever's looking at this stuff, tell yourself that you're writing to somebody you really care about. Child, husband, wife, whatever it is. Aunt, uncle, grandmother. That's who you're talking to when you're writing the text. Because the people who come and visit to buy or to do whatever, they are not expecting you to open your heart to them. You did it in the text. That doesn't mean that you're going to do it in person. Do you see the difference?
Hmm.
They can't get at you. They can't physically get to you. So never mind. You do have to put your thoughts about that professionalism and scared about showing your feelings. You have to put that aside. That one's hard. So it's a good point to bring up, Bonnie. But just think of it as they can't hurt you. What are they going to do?
I'd like to hear if Arthur has any more comments about my site.
Okay. Bonnie, were you done?
Well, I agree with everything you've said, about
Okay.
adding things, nice words underneath each photograph to draw in the people.
Okay. That's good. So is it making more sense than it has in the past, so that you're getting a better idea of how to write that content? Because that's really where we are. That's what I'm trying to get you all to focus on. Throw out the stuff that's stopping you, the hurdles that are stopping you from writing this content. Think about that some more, and I'll go to Barbara and then see if that brings up anything in your mind. Can we do that? You got a lot going on in your head, Barney. I can see that. Barbara, go ahead.
So to speak to Bonnie, and also what came up for me with your conversation with Blair, and it's almost kind of life-changing. I really had an epiphany. And you're right, Bonnie. You are 100% right. And I realized that in a conversation with someone that would say to me, "What do you do?" I would say, "I have a retail website." And that is, it is what I do, but it's not what I do. What I do is shop, and I'm really good at picking out the most fantastic.
Stop right there.
I
Why
know.
isn't that in your site on the homepage?
It was like your conversation with Blair, and it's exactly what he said to you. And it's really hard for me to talk about what I do, what I like, why I'm good at it, and why you should buy it from me. And that's it. And I know, because people ask me what I do. And this is the funny part. People ask me what I do, and I say I have a retail website, and they go, "Okay, on to the next."
See, they snore too. That's not the answer that they want. But the second answer that you gave, that did it. Whoever, male or female, who you were talking to, when you answered that second way, they're going to listen to every word you're saying after that. Because you got excited and you started telling them what I'm doing. That makes a whole lot more sense.
And I do know that when people ask me, so funny aside, I actually targeted one of my friends with a piece of clothing that I wore to a lunch, because I knew that she liked vests and she liked things like this. And I walked in, and the first thing she said to me is, "Oh my God, I have to have that." And she went and bought a piece, and I'm thinking, so that's like all of this conversation right here has flipped it for me.
Yep. Just be your product and why you're into it. So I don't try to go, yeah, but I got to make it. No, go back to just talking to somebody, just like you figured it out. What you, the second way that you said that, that's why I stopped you dead in your tracks. That was beautiful. Now keep that thought in mind every time that you're writing content.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's really hard because
Yes.
I don't, as Bonnie said, I don't think that way because I have my professional hat on and I have a professional website and I sell professionally, which is fine, but
Anybody who's got a website feels like I've got to put on this professional air. Okay, go ahead if you don't want people to buy anything. So
it's
you've
the
got
other
to
thing
warm
that
them
sets
up.
you apart.
You've got to warm them up to whatever your site's about. And if you talk to them just like a person, they're more apt to go, oh, I get it. It's like I could be on these meetings and I could say, well, first you have to have the keyword, then you have to have the keyword over there, and then you have to have the writing and you have to have this much content. Okay, we're done with the meeting. How many of you would go, forget it, pal, I'm not coming back to these meetings, but I'm just talking to you. And that's what I try to do with everybody so that you understand that's exactly what you want to do in the content of your website. Just talk. Don't worry about, well, I have to do this or no, do the I have to stuff after you've written the content. Now go back and do what's necessary to input things or rearrange the sentences so that it complies with what you know has to be there. Keywords, making sure they're at the front of the sentence. But don't do it all at the same time. That's overkill or overtaxing your brain. Just talk, write the content down or record it, and then transcribe it. Then do the optimization to that. Does that make better sense to people? Does that sound like it's easier? Arthur, you got something?
Yeah, in her particular business that she's doing, yeah, I mean that, the content is great, but in Blair's situation, he might consider using video. And I sent you a link to a photographer I know in Naples, and his name's Clyde Butcher, and he uses video on his site, and it's really engaging. And Thomas, I put the link privately to you. If you click on it, you can pull that up and show Blair what Clyde Butcher does. And he actually has people shoot video of him setting up. He's an Everglades photographer. And he actually had people help him shoot video, and then he posts it on his wearing all the hats is not going to get you anywhere. You're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over. But if you learn to outsource certain things that you need to do, you're going to get much better results.
Barbara, you had a question?
Yeah, Bonnie, can you remind me what, or us, for anyone else, it could be me, what it is? So I'm going to ask you the question. We're at a cocktail party. Bonnie, what do you do?
Specialize in branding identity. Just that, and they usually ask me, what is that? They
Yeah,
said,
you lost me already.
say, what's the difference between brand identity and a brand? Then I have to go into that.
You don't sound very excited about what you do.
Well, I'm very tired right now. I got a headache. So that's why I was thinking of getting off about 15 minutes ago. So I really can't be too excited about it because right now, half my life I have a migraine and I'm really fed up about it.
So the best advice I can give to you is to, on a day when you are feeling good, that's when you need to get that energy up and think about what you do and Write like you're talking to Barbara. Think about the question she asked you. When you're feeling good, answer that question.
Mhm.
Maybe even with a recorder so nobody's listening, you can think about the question, close your eyes, and just answer the question.
Because starting for me, now that I've sort of had a mind flip, when you said I do identity branding, what was it again?
Brand identity.
I'm sorry, you dropped out.
Brand identities.
I do brand identities. Would it be better for her to start with a description of, like, turn it around. Like, if I asked Bonnie that question at a cocktail party, would it be useful for her in terms of engagement to ask me back what I do, and I can help you with what you do? That's what brand identity is. Because
Oh, yeah, I see what
I'm-
you're saying.
In her
Yeah,
particular
Explain
situation,
what
that
it
might
is from
work.
the beginning.
like,
Explain
if I were to ask her that and she were to ask me, well, what do you do? I'd say, well, I have a retail website, a shopping website, and she could go, I can help you with that.
So I should start
It-
off with,
I
I help people discover their brand image and do a whole branding strategy and more.
what is branding and why is it important? And why do you like doing
Because
that?
you have to have a positive image of your company. And that encompasses everything you do, everything you are. And if you don't have it, you're not gonna, like every single one we saw today had branding in it. Their look, their feel, their what do you call it? Their excellence, that's all a brand.
Does it always have to be positive? And to ask you that doesn't mean it needs to be negative, but as we all know, any publicity is good publicity. Can the word positive be replaced with something else? Because I feel like it's such a pedestrian thing. Like, when I look at what the conversation that we've had with the photography, I feel like, exciting or other words come to mind other than positive. Positive seems very
Formal,
pedestrian.
What did you say, Arthur?
formal.
Normal, pedestrian, yeah.
Formal.
Yeah, positive is like formal.
Yeah, right. Positive, of course, we all, if we have a website, we all want to have a positive face, like, I think that goes without saying, but are there other words that, I love creating exciting brand recognition is my specialty. I don't know.
See, that's why, myself, I'm building a new website. I'm doing some rebranding myself. I'm not even going to attempt to do my branding because I can't get outside of my head. So I'm not going to sit here for months trying to figure out what I want to say. I'll hire somebody to do it for me.
Isn't this what Bonnie does?
I believe so.
Okay, well, that wasn't. So what would Bonnie need to do to get you to hire her to do branding for you?
What would she have to do for me to hire her?
Yeah, what would her pitch have to be?
Or she wouldn't have to have a pitch, just have a good reviews and a recommendation. Everything I do is on referrals and recommendations. I don't just scour the internet to hire somebody. You know, I go through word of mouth and that kind of engagement.
Right, but
You
you
know-
also read about, I'm sure you do some research on whoever the company.
I
is.
read
Even those-
reviews. Yeah, I read reviews and check out their website, stuff like that, you know, but it generally isn't the website that makes me go with them, you know, because it's usually a referral, you know, usually a word of mouth. Someone tells me that they've used this person and they do great work. A lot of times I don't even look at their website. I call up and say, hey, what can you do for me? You know, so I mean, there's a lot of things that, you know, when it comes to networking and word of mouth and things like that, that's so important when it comes to marketing. You know, I mean, you can have the most beautiful website out there, but if that content is not engaging, you know, then what's the point? You know, so. But who I'm using now is just, you know, somebody that I got from a referral. You know, plus I've seen their work, you know. That initial, you know, branding, I guess you might say. You know, but you know, I mean, when it comes to branding, that's what these people do professionally, is they're looking at you outside of you, you know, from the outside. And basically all you have to do, when I talk to the person who I hired for branding, she just asked me to tell her what I do. And important to me, you know, and she took that and ran with it. And right now she showed me some stuff that's just, you know, great, exactly what I want to say, you know. So I mean, sometimes you have to step outside yourself, you know, let somebody else do it, you know what I'm saying. You know, I mean, there are people who do branding that hire branding people to do their branding, you know, because they can't get, you know, like Thomas said, they can't get outside of their head. You know, I mean, my website, my other website, it's a disaster because I'm telling people what I want to say, and it doesn't work. So that's why I hired someone to do it for me. You know?
And that takes a big person to admit that too. You know how you can or cannot express yourself. And if you understand that, then you have to stop and go, I have a really hard time doing that. So I need to hire somebody to do that.
Yep.
So if you're having a difficult time being able to express yourself, then that's where you need to look for some help, whether it's hire, talk to somebody else, confer to a friend or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I learned years ago, you know, I've had a couple of businesses, and when I finally realized I had to outsource, that's when I started making money. Because I had to have control of everything. I had to have control of, you know, how my website was, what I was going to say on it, you know, this and that and everything else. And it would just flop, you know. And then finally, you know, through a business mentor who told me, hey, you got to step outside yourself. You know, you got to outsource this stuff. You know, I said, well, I can't afford it. He said, yes, you can. He said, you're not making any money now, are you? You know, he said, all
Yeah,
you do
I've
is spend.
actually found that as well. You know,
Yeah.
I've had to let
Yeah.
go of a few things, and I think it's been for the better. In
Yeah.
a
You
lot
keep
of
spending money, trying to do everything yourself, and you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you just bite the bullet and invest in yourself, you'll start making money. Plus, you get peace.